Okay, it is Mark coming to you from Baker's Green Acres, and as you can see, I've solved my problem. It's funny how you can read that now when it's not flipped. It looked like it was just really far away before, but I got with Mark Zuckerberg and we got that figured out. So anyway, this is the whiteboard portion of, oh, now these things are going to be in the way. All right, well, the whiteboard portion, you know what, let me put my microphone on too. Should have this all set up before I start today. Okay, can I get a thumbs up if this sounds good? Anyone? Anyone? Okay. All right, this is going to be the whiteboard portion of feed. Right there, feed. Remember we said you will need, there's 5 things that you need. You need a cow. You need feed for that cow. You're going to need water for that cow, and we're going to talk about that tomorrow. You're going to need a bucket to milk that cow into. All right, just bear with me on that. And then you're going to need a glass to drink that out of. Now, it seems really rudimentary, but again, I'm saying these are the things you need. There's always going to be things that you want, and in any process that you're doing on your homestead, you're going to want to make it better. Always make it better. Never be sitting where you are and never just say, oh, good enough, right? Always improve it. There's always things that you can do. And when you make one little improvement, you say that, oh boy, if I had put another light there, I could see even better and do this. Or boy, you know, if I had a lawn chair here, I could sit and watch her while I'm milking her, or like that. In my case, I just put a door on up there for their where they come in. There's a doorway, but there's never been a door on there that I know of. And so I built a really nice door and I put it on. And when I close that door, the wind doesn't come whistling through there, and it actually gets pretty comfortable in there. And a day like today, it's 20-ish and it's blowing. So with the door shut, I'm quite comfortable in there. So you can constantly increase your process to make it better. You know, easier, funner, more secure, safer, all those things. Anyway. Let's talk feed. I took you out there and I showed you some hay equipment. All told, in hay equipment, I probably have about $4,000 in everything that I have, plus my tractor, which is worth about $10,000. I actually have 2 of them. The little one, the orange one that I showed you, I paid $300 for it, but then I had to put like $600 worth of tires on it. So I do have some money wrapped up in this stuff, and I would say that unless you have acreage to cut, and I don't know where that line is, I really don't. I've heard people say unless you have 50 acres, then you should, you know, get somebody else to do it. But that's tough because farmers don't have a lot of time to just, oh, you want me to cut your 40-acre field? Oh, no problem, I'll come over and do it. They don't have time to do that. And so that's going to have to be something that you think about. If you have 20 acres of hay ground, do you want to cut that, or do you just want to intensively graze that? So that's going to have to be something that we would talk about in the Homesteaders Guild, because it would take some back and forth. I can't say definitively right now, if you have 10 acres, then you don't want hay equipment. I can't say that, because you might have 80 acres of pines and hay equipment's not going to help you. So it's tough for me to say right off. It would really take a little bit more interface with me or somebody else that knows this business. But in lieu of cutting hay, you graze, and that's intensive grazing, right? And I'm going to talk about that in a sec. But hay equipment, you might not want to, you know, you decide that you want to milk a cow. Don't run out and buy hay equipment. Run out and get the cow first. and you can buy hay. And you might find out that you don't like the taste of milk, and you've got hay equipment. Now what are you going to do with it? So run out and buy a cow, and then run out and buy the milk, the hay. But it's not something that you have to do. This is something you can grow into. I heard something this weekend. It was they were talking about state government. It was actually Department of Agriculture, and how they how they punish people for not doing it the way they want it done. And their punishment is in the process. Okay, so you get letters from lawyers, and it's like, then you got to get lawyers. And the process of defending yourself winds up being your punishment. And they like that, because they like people to say, oh, I don't want to go down that road. That was really bad for that guy. So, but they don't really have the authority unless you, take captive one of their inspectors and, kidnap them or something like that. They don't have the authority to arrest you. They have no arresting authority as it is. They would have to bring the state police to arrest. But the statement was that they use the process to punish you. So let's take the alternative of that. Let's swap that over. For me, the process is my goal, is my pleasure, is the process. So I have about 50 acres that I cut, and some people would say, well, that's not enough to justify, $14,000 worth of hay equipment. But I do it myself, and I enjoy doing it. And when I get done with it, I have a feeling of accomplishment, and I'm going to continue to do it. And I've been doing it for 14 years. So if we amortize that out, it's $1,000 a year, and I'm feeding way more than $1,000 worth of hay. And I plan on doing this for the next 50 years. So I will definitely pay for that hay equipment. So it's something to consider. All right. But let's not go too deep into that. Baled hay, price per bale, it's hard to say. But it's anywhere from $4 a 90-pound bale to $10. It's hard to say. And, we're talking a mature cow. She's going to eat about 30 pounds of dry material per day if she's just on dry material. If she's out on the field, she will eat more than that. And then she's going to produce a lot of manure. So that's a good thing. Oh, I can see this. I don't even have to turn around. All right, grazing. Grazing is probably, after you buy your cow, and while it's still cold out and there's no grass, sit down and read some books about grazing, because it is a really intense subject. And it is probably one of the processes that's going to yield you the most product. I'm going to say dollars, but I'm just the most booty per energy that you put into it. All right, it's very, very productive. If a cow needs 30 pounds of material per day, and you can put her out in a place where you can't even walk, but she can spend time in there, and then you go there later and you see her, she's laid down and she's happy and she's eating a lot of different varieties of plants. You're not only going to boost the density, the nutrient density of your milk, you're going to utilize forage that wasn't being utilized before, and you really couldn't utilize it unless you went in there with a pair of scissors and started cutting it out and carried it out in a bucket or something. But they can make very good use of areas, like maybe if you have a section of woods in between your house and the road, let's say, and there's a lot of grasses and stuff in there. If you take a little bit of time and she's trained well and you put up temporary fences, that will be fine. It will keep her very well. So it's something to really look into. There are pitfalls for sure. If you have a really nice hay field, let's say you've got a piece of ground that's got a nice hay field on it. I have a neighbor that's doing this. And you just turn the cows out there and leave them out there, and they start biting the grass down. It grows this much and they bite it off again. Very bad, because once they take the second bite, there's a risk that they could kill that individual plant. All right. So when you're grazing, you want to run them over it quickly, a couple of days. Let's say the grass is a foot high. Let them bring it down to 6 inches and then move them off. And then let that come back. And you can do that, as many times as you can do it in the summertime, that it bounces back, and it will bounce back. Take into consideration your lawn. Those of you that mow lawns. How many times do you mow a summer? Me, I must mow 10 times. It's like my downfall. Just growing up in my parents' home, I just can't not mow the lawn. I think I get off on it. It looks really good. I love doing it, and I got a riding mower, and life is good. I got a riding mower. And so I like to mow my lawn. I do it 10 times. Every time I cut it off, I probably harvest. I got a lot of lawn. I am probably harvesting. I'll do this sometime. I'll weigh it. I'll figure out how much I'm harvesting, but I bet I'm harvesting a half a ton, 1,000 pounds of grass that I use. All right, it doesn't, I don't use it for feed. I use it for the walkways in the garden and stuff like that. So it does not go to waste. But it's just an example, like when you're grazing, you can do it all summer long. Just don't let them get it down too low, or you can ruin your field. And then all you'll have is burdocks coming up. So that's an intense subject, and it's something that you should definitely read up on. Grazing equipment, you need a solar-powered fencer. You could use a battery-powered one if you want. You could run a long extension cord if you want. But I find that the solar ones are more than adequate. If you get shocked by one, you'll find out. And then you need step-in posts, and it makes a lot of sense to buy a $2 or $3 post and use it for 5 years. You've just amortized it out to nothing. The stuff is cheap. And then you get a reel. They make them that you can reel up your temporary fencing material. You only need to put out a single strand for milk cows. And once they hit it, they remember it. My milk cow, Rosie, I don't even have to put a fencer on it. I got her fooled, right? I don't say it too loud. And then what else do you need? You need to be able to get water to them out on the field. Very important in the summertime is that there's got to be water available to them all the time. I have several bodies of water on this place, so I try to do my grazing so that they can get the natural water that's here. And I'm going to talk water tomorrow, so we'll talk about that subject, because a lot of people are concerned, does it have to be fluorinated water, or can it be like puddle water? All right, so we'll talk about that. All right, I've got grain written down. Oh, I've got ND. That's for nutrient density. Nutrient density. Not too sure of the spelling of both of those words, so I figured I'd abbreviate it so I would appear to be smarter than I am. Nutrient density. Grain is going to help you with your nutrient density. Kelp is going to help you with your nutrient density. Also, grazing, because they're going to be able to use their instinctive nature to eat the stuff they want and not eat the stuff that they don't want. Like when I said before that they will eat cardboard, they will if that's the only thing in front of them and it's there and there's nothing else there. They will eat that. It's like you see these mountains that they have around of silage. What that is it's fermented corn stalks and all that they grind up, or they chop it up, and then they blow it in these big long bags, and then it ferments. And if you ever smell it, it smells like fermented cabbage in a way. It smells pretty good. I could eat a little bit of it, but that's a lot of these cows, that's all they get their whole lives, is just that silage. That's all they ever get. But they're not interested in nutrient-dense milk, see? So it's a cheap source of feed, and that's why they do that. That's their thing. Let them. That's fine. So yeah, grains, kelp. The cow's instinctive nature is going to work with you. Grains. Let's talk about grains. If you're gonna procure milk via your own cow for your kids, and this is for moms, and you've got kids that are all of a sudden lactose intolerant. Funny, we never had lactose intolerant when I was a kid. I can remember my elementary school, every kid that I knew would get a milk on the way in. None of them were lactose intolerant. Could it be that they're intolerant to something else that's in the milk? And I don't want to bring up, controversial issues, but I think everybody knows at this point that there's a lot of things that go on grain crops that didn't go on grain crops when we were little kids. You know, there's all over the country, there's clamoring about, lactose intolerant and gluten-free, gluten intolerance, and, what's the common denominator on this? I don't know, but if I was going to buy grain, I would buy grain that has not been genetically modified. That's what I would do. Not that genetically modified grain is bad, but the reason that they genetically modify grain is what you need to look at. Why do they genetically modify it? They genetically modify it so that they can spray glyphosate, which is Roundup, directly on it, and it won't kill it. It'll kill everything else around it, but it will not kill whatever it is. If it's genetically modified wheat, genetically modified alfalfa they have now, genetically modified corn, that's been a mainstay. I kind of theorize, well, no, I'm not going to theorize. I'm going to just say, if I had a glass of glyphosate right here, I would not drink it. I would not put a teaspoon of it on my cereal. I don't eat cereal, but let's say I did. I would not do that. So why would I want to go out and buy grains that are genetically modified that I know have been douched down with glyphosate and then feed that to my cow and then take the milk from that and say, here you go, kids. Try this on. How do you like this? I'm not doing that. I'm just not going to do it. People can do what they want, but we're talking about our own milk cow because we want our own milk and we want to stack the deck on that milk to make it nutrient dense to take care of these things, these flesh suits that we walk around in all the time. We want to take care of it instead of just relying on the garbage that they put in front of us and think that that's going to do it, because I think we all know at this point it's true. You really are what you eat, and if you eat garbage, you'll be a walking garbage heap. So okay, that's it. That's it for this video as far as feeds go. I'm going to get into water later, maybe tomorrow, maybe this afternoon. But that's water. The water is a very deep subject, and it's very vast. And so water is also something that we can do a deep dive on. Okay, Mark for Baker's Green Acres. Remember, anyone can farm.